that's that done. So in the end, I'm pretty sure you guys saw me struggling to catch out the tinfoil barb, so we left them in. We left in the flowerhorn, and I completely forgot that the 2 giraffe cats were in there because they were hiding in the cave. So we also left them in, and instead of lifting up the tank, and we just kind of shifted it along. So now it's sitting over there, and let me go ahead and show you the small changes that we've made, but we've definitely tidied it up a lot. So, okie and dokie, what we've pretty much done is we've moved it from there to here on top of this actual tank stand. And we've pretty much made room for the bigger tank as and when it comes. Only downside to having this tank here is it's right next to that lovely bright window, and so we're going to get a lot of glare if we film in the mornings. Well, at this time of day, actually in the morning might be better because the sun's on the other side. But more importantly, what we've done is we put a cloth at the back to hide everything. So if we come around the back, here is pretty much where the filter and all the wiring goes, and we've just gone ahead and put in a background so you don't actually see that, which I think looks a lot tidier. We've also added in the lemon barb that was down in the cube tank right next to my foot here. And what I'm actually thinking that we do is that we go ahead and we move the cube tank and put it in the space below the tank. Because what my initial thought was to put the quarantine tank upstairs in my room down here. That was the original plan. And I'm kind of split between putting the cube tank under there or putting the... I keep on forgetting its name. And putting the quarantine tank down there. Now, the reason I'm stuck is because this is exactly... The cube is 2 foot by 2 foot. And so it'll make the most of that space. Whereas the quarantine tank is like 2.5 foot by 15 inches. So it's not as ideal to put in there, and it wastes a lot of space. Because what I'm also going to do is I'm going to go and put a couple of the filters down there in the space next to the tank. Because when we put our tank on this thingy over here, we're not actually going to have that much any space really below to put the tanks. So my idea was to put the filters down there. Keep on pointing. To put the filters pretty much where I've said, and then like have all the hose piping and everything come up and through. But we will see what goes on in the end. But yeah, this is something that I've been wanting to do for so long, and I'm so glad it's over and done with for the most part. So I'm pretty much gonna make this decision in like the next few hours whether I move this or not. I feel like moving this cube underneath would be the better idea, but I think we'll have to just wait and see. Because what the plan is, or was, so the cube tank was supposed to be the quarantine tank, because the quarantine tank is currently the injured fish tank where my gar is. But once the big tank comes and we move out some of the more heavier fish, and what I mean by heavier is if they kind of run into the gar, he's going to get hurt. So those kind of fish are going to be moved into the big tank alongside the inhabitants of the pool pond, and that will go back to being the primary quarantine tank. This cube tank will then actually become a fish tank, where I've got some plans in place to pretty much do some things and make it into a fish tank. And I might actually be starting up the tank that I have that sits here. I'm pretty much, because I was talking to my mother and we were kind of saying it needs to be cleaned because it's quite dirty. And so what I'm going to probably do is either tomorrow or the day after, I'm going to go ahead and clean out that tank, move it upstairs, and I might set it up and just leave it to cycle, because then that can be the injured fish tank, because I think the gar is starting to outgrow its home, and it might be best if we move it into a larger tank. That's what my thought pattern is for now. I'm not really too sure, but you know what I actually like a lot as well is the fact that we've now got this extra space where we can kind of just sit and look at the fish from a different angle. The water is a bit stirred up because I did disturb the substrate, and we did like a 50% water change. So what I actually did, because I haven't actually explained this, so I drained about half of the water out and threw it in the garden where I water the plants, and then the other half I split between the pool pond and the cube where I put the fish temporarily in the cube to just stay. And then when I was filling it back up, I filled this up about halfway using the water from the pool pond, and then I filled it up with fresh water. So I've done about a 50% water change on this. So that's the reason why the water is a bit cloudy. It's because I just disturbed the substrate, because there was pretty much, you saw the end of the clip, there was like that much water left. There was 3 inches max. And so when you put new water in, it's quite easy just to disturb the substrate, and whatever crap was floating around, it just needs to settle down. But that will happen eventually. But yeah, so now we can like take a look at the fish through this way as well, which is quite nice. That won't be a thing for long though, because eventually the big tank will pretty much just get in that way, and you'll have like the minimal amount of space to put between them. Another thing I wanted to try and do, I'll take you around this side. Okay, cool. Is it's not going to stay just yet, but I'm going to get some clips and try and clip this in place, because pretty much that's a window, and if you have fish tanks next to a window, you're going to get an algae problem. So this tank has been so easy in the sense that I don't actually have any algae problems with it, so I want to kind of keep that going. So I'm going to try and clip that in place and pretty much hide as much of that glass as I can from the sun. I mean, this is also going to get hit with a decent amount of sun, but we'll kind of see what happens, really. I mean, I've got a few mothballs in here, so that should hopefully counteract it. I don't really know how much nitrates and nitrites I've got in there, which pretty much is nutrients for plants, but we will see. I am so out of it, I'm so tired. Every time I do things, I don't have the most stamina in terms of just... I'm not a sprinter, let's put it that way. I'm not like a long distance runner or anything like that. I'm the couch potato, that's what I am. So, I'm pretty much pooped, but that's the update for now. And it's kind of gone on for too long because I've rambled. So, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, keep safe.